And I remember I had got sick on my music from my music video because we were on the roof dancing and it was like snowing. And I had got like a chest cold. And so I was like, everybody's gonna think that I have COVID and I don't.
Well, hey, Journey, thank you so much for doing this. My name is Adam, and this podcast is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new couple records you put out and dig all the way back to the beginning.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. So first off, so you're born in LA, is that right? Did I read that?
Yes, I was born in
But
Los
you weren't born, but you weren't raised in LA.
No.
Okay, so how long did you live in Los Angeles for?
I lived in Los Angeles for about 4 years, like the first 4 years of my life.
Okay.
But my family is from New York. So it was almost like they moved there for a couple of years and then just moved right back. So I'm the only person in my family that wasn't born in New York.
Oh, okay. So you were born in those 4 years that or whatever that
Yeah.
they were in LA, and then it was like, okay, we're gonna go back to New York.
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, I guess if you're 4, you're not gonna really remember LA in comparison to growing up in New York. But what was it like growing up in New York?
Well, I do have a few memories, like my first memories in LA. We lived in like the valley, so it was really different. I remember when I moved to New York, I was always telling everybody like, "Oh, I'm going back to LA soon. Like, I'm not gonna be here long. Like, I'm going back home to my nanny and my pumpkins. Like, I had like a garden and stuff. Like, I was like, I'm not gonna be here long. Like, don't worry about it."
Mhm.
But it was definitely different because we're uptown, so it's like right in the middle of Harlem, like the real, like it's real New York experience. And
Mhm.
it was a really drastic change, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think it was for the best. I learned a lot, and those experiences kind of shaped me into who I am. So
that is amazing. I know what a difference from LA and traffic and driving everywhere to New
mhm.
York, when you can essentially get on subway and go anywhere you want. I mean,
Yeah.
having that freedom. What was that like as a kid?
It was crazy. At first it just was like too much, and like I just didn't understand it, and like everybody was just, we were like elementary school, middle school, just like out running the streets like it was
Right.
normal, like and and then after that I had moved to Atlanta, and then I just, it was really weird not having that freedom that I had at such a young age in New York, like literally like getting out of school and being able to do whatever I want and go wherever I want, to like being in high school, and if I don't have a car, then I'm like SOL, I'm stuck at the house. So it's just,
Right.
it's a lot of different, different like experiences, and like with like freedom, and New York definitely takes it there with with the freedom and being able to go wherever you want at any time.
Sure. How old are you when you moved to Atlanta?
I was 11 or 12.
Okay, so you hadn't quite made it into high school yet. So you weren't like
Yeah.
leaving high school and having to go through that whole process of,
I
but
I
still you had to
moved
make new friends and
in like
everything.
eighth grade, like seventh, eighth grade. And then yeah, and then like it was majority high school. Like when I think of like my school experience in Atlanta, it was like mostly high school is like the
Mhm.
memories.
Okay. And when did you start singing? Like when did you get into music?
Well, I've been singing my whole life. There's actually this story about when I was a baby and we were in LA. I was screaming in the grocery store, and Mariah Carey's vocal coach came up to my mom and was like, "Oh my gosh, your baby is crying in perfect pitch." Like, what the heck? And she was Mariah Carey, like she's like this older like white lady. She was Mariah Carey's vocal coach for like years, and she was like, "Your baby is crying in perfect pitch." And so that was kind of like my first singing experience, I guess, if
Wow.
you remember. But I've always been singing around the house. Like my older sisters, I'm the youngest of three, and they will always like give me songs to learn, like Whitney Houston and Etta James and Beyonce, and like I would come and perform them after I learned them. And it was just a lot of that. Like I had like a Michael Jackson obsession phase. I was like obsessed with Michael Jackson. And I think that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to learn and
Hmm.
just soak up as much as you can. But like I've always sang from a baby. I kind of got into it professionally when I was about like 13 or 14. I
Wow.
started like doing covers on Instagram, and then a girl group came to me and asked me if I wanted to, join the group. And that was how I started like recording, and I learned that was like the beginning of my artist development. And then
Hmm.
from there I started like ghostwriting for a few artists and like co-writing here and there, and then that kind of formed into me making my own music and putting out
Wow.
my own music by the time I was like 16.
Okay. Whoa. I want to rewind a little bit here for a second. That's crazy. So, well, real quick, was your family involved in the entertainment industry at all? Is that kind of where got the bug, or no?
Yeah, my mom is in artist management. She has for
Oh,
years. She managed Fantasia and Jordan Sparks and Neo.
really? That's so
Yeah.
rad.
Yeah, so yeah, Neo's like my uncle. I like grew up with him. And it was just a lot of that, like being like the 5-year-old in the studio, just like watching and like soaking everything up. And then my dad is a singer. He was in a boy group growing when I was growing up. And so it was just a family affair, definitely. And like my whole dad's side, they all sing. And so yeah, it's definitely that.
Wow, that's cool. So it's awesome that you took the journey to that, in music, because a lot of people you hear of, like, singers, celebrities, kids, they just want nothing to do with what their parent, it's like, to them it's not
Yeah.
cool, like, oh yeah, that's, yeah, my dad's a, whatever, or my mom's a whatever. It's like, oh, that's not cool. But the fact that you were in the studio at 5 and you absorbed that, and it was something that you enjoyed and you were passionate about, that's
Yeah, it's
really,
great. That's how my sisters are. They're like, I want mm-mm.
oh, really? Yeah. It's just funny how that is. Most kids are like, man, oh, my parents do it. Oh, that means it's definitely not cool. Right.
Yeah.
So at 5, do you remember being in the studio as that young?
Yeah. And Neo is one of the greatest writers of
Oh,
all
sure.
time, like ever. I went to a couple premieres with him, like as a little girl. Like I remember that. But it was just so like regular. Like I remember I was crying because my mom wasn't in the limo with us. And I was like, I want
Oh,
my mom. But like it was cool because he was like my uncle. And he was like, oh, we're going to the Princess and the Frog premiere. Like, come on. It was just, it was cool. A lot of great experiences that I really like hold close to me. Learned a
that's
lot.
so cool. So cool. And when you got in this, how did you get this girl group that you're talking about? You said you got into a girl group?
I was just really consistent with like singing videos on Instagram and stuff. Like, my mom could easily like have put her complete force behind it, but it was kind of a point where I had to like prove that I could do this on my own with or without her. And like I could really like, get into the grid and build a fan
Right.
base and just prove myself a little bit before my mom just came with the full force because she could.
Hmm.
And so with me having that like work ethic and like really really trying, I was doing remixes, writing, like all sorts of stuff on YouTube and Instagram, just like like 3 videos a day. Like I was going crazy. And then this girl group, they had like a little following. They were replacing one of their members, and they DM'd me like, oh, come to the studio for a meeting. And we had a meeting and we recorded a song, and then they just loved me. And I was the youngest person in the group. I was like 13 at the time. They were all like 16, 17, 18. And I was, it was fine. Like it was really weird a little bit because they were older than me, but like I definitely learned a lot from there. Like that was kind of how I started for like definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's cool that your mom made you kind of show it. She was probably
Yeah.
like, like, yeah, that you might like it now, but you got to prove to me that you're gonna stick
Yeah.
around and want to continue. Because if she went all in, and then you're
Mhm.
like, I've
Yeah.
2 kids and they get uninterested in stuff very quickly. So it's like, you know, if you were like, yeah, I want to sing, and she's like, okay, well, let's do this full force, and then you're 2 weeks later, you're like, I'm done. I want to do
Yeah.
this now. I want to be in
Exactly.
dance, or I want to do this. Like, that's cool that she made you,
Yeah.
kind of prove to her that you wanted to do this. Was that something that, like, organically over time started? This girl group contacted you, so you must have had some sort of following online.
Yeah, I grew a following. I'm really grateful that my mom kind of pushed me to do that because of that, because of her. Like it's kind of weird. It's like she didn't want to help me, but she ended up helping me even more by making me do it on my own.
Hmm.
I grew like a really a good amount of following for like being like in high school. Like I had like 20,000 followers like through high school.
Wow.
And yeah, by the time I was like 16, I had like 20K. And it was, it was me just being like consistent on like Instagram with like my singing videos. And then when I joined the girl group, that kind of pushed a little bit more momentum. And then when the girl group got like a publishing deal, they noticed that I was writing all of the songs.
Oh, you
So
were.
yeah,
Okay.
I was. So they took me out and started putting me in other sessions with other artists that were signed to the label. So it was like I was just in there writing for like singers, and they were like way older than me, like 25-year-olds, like being like,
Right.
"You need to be in the studio. I need her right now." And so it was like a lot of like writing, and I just learned like the structure of songs. Like I was working with a lot of other songwriters, and I learned like their techniques. It was a really cool experience to be like 14.
Right. I mean, when you go into this group and then you're like, I'm going to start writing, I'll write the song. Like, how do you just take them
Yeah.
over? You're like, you know what? I'm going to write the songs from here on
Yeah.
out. Like, I mean, were you writing prior to that, or like when did you get into
Um,
songwriting?
well, I had wrote one song. I had
Okay.
wrote and recorded one song. And I went to the studio and it was atrocious. It was horrible. I left crying. It was so bad. And my mom was like, it's okay, just keep trying it. I was like, it's terrible. I like had like a panic attack in the studio because it was so hard and it wasn't coming out how I wanted. But yeah, I had wrote that song,
Mm-hmm.
and then like I used to remix other songs. So I would like write a verse on other songs, like a
Oh.
Drake song, or like, and then put that on my Instagram. Like I would write a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got into the girl group, I saw how they wrote. Like I didn't really know the structuring and like the technique of writing a song in the studio. So like I just saw how they wrote and like, technique wise. And I was like, oh, I could do that and I could do it better. Like, let me
Mm-hmm.
just. And so I started like vocal producing them and like, writing out the song and just doing what they were doing because they were older and they had been doing it longer, but I was just doing it better.
Better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absorbing what they're doing and being like, I'm going to do this a little bit better than you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. That's cool. That is really cool. Real quick on the back to your Instagram following, because I'm just curious to have 20,000 followers in high school. Was that like, I'm sure that you had so much jealousy towards you at that point, right?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I used to change schools a lot.
Okay.
So, especially when I was in Atlanta, like I went to school on the south side and then the north side and then like just everywhere. And so by the time like the last time I changed schools, it was a couple people that knew who I was at the school. Like they followed me on Instagram.
Oh, like
And they were
prior
like,
to you even going there?
yeah, and they were like, "Oh,
Whoa.
she's in this girl group, like da 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 da," and it like made this whole commotion, and it was like, it was just really weird, and like some girls didn't like me because of it, and were like being like me, and but
Of
then the
course. Just
guys were all
jealous.
like, yeah, it was just a mess. But yeah, I definitely feel like my Instagram played a part in that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see haters. I mean, I wasn't in high school, obviously, when social media was a thing, but I would imagine if somebody in the school was, had a huge following or, was doing these big things, there'd be a lot of haters, a lot of jealousy.
Yeah.
Is Instagram still or social media still a big tool that you're using to promote yourself? Like, do you feel like that's kind of a big way to
Yeah,
get your songs
I've
across and everything?
really gotten into TikTok.
Okay.
I really I like TikTok, but Instagram is kind of like the most solid, like where like most of my fan base is.
Hmm.
Um yeah, I love Instagram. It's a great platform to use to like promote your music and like, have a consistent group of people that know your face and know who you are and like are
Hmm.
familiar with you. To have like your little hub.
Right.
I feel like TikTok is good for like reaching out to like new people just because it's like every time you post different people see it, like it's not like
Right.
same 10 people seeing your post. So yeah, I mean, Instagram definitely plays a big part still to this day.
Yeah. I was listening to somebody talk about TikTok the other day, and they're just saying like it's so much different because, like you said, you put something out and you'll get a lot of followers in it. But how often are you actually on your follow? Like most people are just looking at the For You page, right? No one's going to their following page really. I mean, some people maybe, but a majority of people are on the For You page, right? Swiping through. So the fact that you can reach so many more eyes like in the moment versus like Instagram, the only people are going to see your stuff unless you make it on that explore the I think it's called explore page or
Yeah,
whatever, but it's mainly the people that already follow you, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Um,
But I was watching your Instagram video that you posted. I think it was yesterday, the most recent one, where you're doing a cover, and then you forget
yeah.
the lyrics at the end. Like I was like, that's so awesome that you just were like, whatever. Like that's what I love about like if the unpolished, like kind of behind the curtain look at people. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I hadn't done a cover in so long. I was like, I'm a little rusty.
No, but you're perfect on the vocal. Like I was like, wow, like you're such a good singer, especially just like off the cuff like that. But it was just so funny and rad that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot the lyrics.
Thank you.
Okay, so you start ghostwriting for people. This obviously the girl group eventually what kind of ends.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then you start ghostwriting, and then how do you move into writing your own music and starting, your
Well,
artist project?
um, the person that found me in the girl group, he's actually my manager now.
Oh, cool.
And in the midst of like introducing me to the rest of the people that were on the distribution, like publishing label,
Mm-hmm.
he was putting me in my own sessions to like record my own music. And like at first I was recording like covers, and then I got in with like producers. And so I started building like my catalog when I was like 14. And so by the time I was like 16, I had like so much music. Like I had so much music from that time period where I was just recording like every single day after school. And then when I was 16, I was like, I'm gonna put something out. Like I think it's time. We had been waiting and caressing it. And I was like, I want to put something out. Like, let's see what happens. Like I had left the girl group, I was graduating, and I was like, let's see what happens.
What was the first song you released?
It was called Show Me Your Love.
Okay. That's what I was
Um,
gonna. I figured it was that, but I didn't want to jump too soon. And
yeah,
was it scary to put a song out on your own?
it was more exciting. I was really
Okay.
excited, and for good reason. Like I got a really good response, and a lot of people have been waiting for me to drop music just because like I had built kind of like a fan base, and
Hmm.
being from all these different schools, everybody was like kind of waiting for me to like sprout as an artist. And yeah, it was really exciting. I was really excited. I shot a music video, and like I had like my whole family kind of in it a little bit, like acting, and it was just like it was just cool. It was fun.
Was that something you wrote? How old were you when you wrote the song?
I wrote the song when I was 15, I
Oh
believe.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Hmm.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. And you released a record last year called In and Out, and
Yeah.
the cover is amazing because you're in front of an In and Out burger sign.
Thank you.
Which do
Yeah.
they even have In and Out on the East Coast? Like I know it's like a West,
So,
like
uh,
California thing. Uh, did you fly out to LA just to take a picture?
no, I actually that whole project was kind of like a, a wing thing. Like I was in LA, and I had got invited to like this TikTok party. And
Okay.
then I had invited like my photographer to come because we're like, oh, we're gonna take pictures. And then as soon as we pulled up, it was like the police came and shut it down immediately.
Oh
And
wow.
so we were like, let's just go to In and Out. Like we looked cute and we were dressed up. We were like, let's go to In and Out and take pictures, I guess. So we went to In and Out and took a whole bunch of pictures. They kicked us out because they were like, you can't take pictures in here. They kicked us out. And then like a month later, I was just listening to like a whole bunch of my music that I was like, I'm never dropping this as singles. Like I'm about to just throw this music away because, and then my sister was like, well, why don't you just make like a project of like all your experimental sounds, like
Mhm.
all of the, it's not the songs in and Out, they're all kind of like different genres and like different sounds. It's just like put it together, and like, just so that they're not thrown away because they're really good songs. So I was like, okay. So we kind of just
Just put it
put
together
something
and kind of
together.
put it together.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'd be like, In and Out. This is cute. Da, da, da. So yeah.
Where were you when the pandemic hit? Were you still in high school at that point?
No, I had just
Okay.
graduated. Well, when I moved from Atlanta in the middle of my senior year, and I finished school online because I
Oh,
moved back
okay.
to New York. And so I remember I had just shot 3 music videos like in one weekend.
Whoa.
And one of the boys, the dancers in the video, he was like showing me like the corona thing on his phone, and I was like, oh, like that'll be gone in like a week. It's gonna be
Right.
like remember Ebola? I was like, it's gonna be like
Exactly. It
Ebola.
ain't coming
And
here. Are you
everybody's
kidding
gonna
me?
joke about it.
Right.
Da, da, da. And then I remember like 2 days later, it was on the news, like shut down. And I was like, and I remember I had got sick on my music from my music video because we were on the roof dancing and it was like snowing. And I had got like a chest cold. And so I was like, everybody's gonna think that I have COVID and I don't.
Right, right. I know. Now, anytime anyone gets sick, or like, oh, you have COVID? No, I just have a cold that I've gotten for my past X amount of years of my life. But, wow. So you were in New York at this time when it shut down everything, which is like was
Yeah.
obviously a mecca of the whole thing. Like I was in San Diego, and everything I saw on TV was obviously New York.
New York was
Um,
terrible. Yeah, it was terrible.
did you have a lot of those? Were you able to work at all? Like, how did you spend that time? Was it just trying to get stuff up online?
Well, I built in a studio in my room
Oh
and
wow.
I started painting.
Oh,
This
those are yours?
all,
Oh,
yeah, these are all from the pandemic. Like
I love that. It's
from
like a
the
Bart
top,
Simpson.
it's like the first, it's kind of like a timeline. Like this is like the first week of the pandemic, and then it kind of just keeps going. And then then I got to canvases, and then it was like, yeah, this was my, COVID activity. And then yeah, I ordered like a whole bunch of equipment for a studio and built like a studio in my room. And my last single that I put out, I actually recorded that in my bedroom. So
Really? Bad Girl? Was that the most recent one?
yep.
That was recorded in your bedroom.
Yep, it was.
Wow. Just the vocal, like, or did you put the whole song together in there?
Yeah, I did. I
Oh
did.
my gosh, that's so rad. Do you have a guitar there? Do you play guitar?
I don't play guitar.
Oh, I just saw the
I
head of the
mean,
guitar. Just curious.
I don't, but
Okay,
I
no
play piano.
worries.
I play piano. I want to
You
learn how
do
to
play piano.
play. Yeah.
When did you learn piano?
When I was like 13, I took some classes, and then like from there, I kind of just continued by ear. So
Oh,
that was
okay. Do you use it
like,
to write piano?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you, I mean, having, like Mariah Carey's vocal teacher coach told your mom when you're screaming in the grocery store, like, do you have perfect pitch? Like, can you hear notes and just know what they are?
Yeah. It drives, I know it's a blessing and a curse just
So
because
jealous of you.
if something is like this a hair wrong, it's like scratching a chalkboard. Like I hear things and my mom will be like, oh, I don't hear anything. Like I don't hear that. And I'm just like, I hear it and it's driving me crazy. Like in a song, like the littlest thing will just like it drive me crazy. And I can, even if like I'm not always doing the perfect thing, I know when I'm not. Like I know if something is off or like, how to make it go exactly where it needs to go. Like it's always like,
Sure.
yeah.
Wow, that's so rad though, to have that. You're like, does it get when you like speaking on the new songs? Like, is that something that like, okay, you do the take, and the producer, someone might be like, oh, that was great, and you're like, nope, I can hear this little thing that I need to tweak. Does it get kind of tedious, or does it get?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. I was just in the studio like the day before yesterday, and I was driving my engineer and producer Dre. I was driving him crazy because he was like, it's good. And I was like, no, I need to do it again. I was like, I need to do it again. I need to do it again. And I like do every line like 10 times because I have to get it like perfect. And he'd be like, it's nothing wrong with any of these takes.
Right. Like anyone that just doesn't have perfect pitch will listen and be like, what are you talking about? No,
Yeah.
I know. Like, got to tweak it just a little bit. What about the new songs? Tell me about the new songs. Bad Girl and then Good Girl, obviously, a little
Yeah.
yin and yang. So
Yeah.
which one did you write first?
Um, I wrote, I don't know, because I wrote it in my room and then I like re-recorded it. I wrote them separately though.
Oh, you
I
did?
wrote I think I wrote Bad Girl first. I wrote Bad Girl first because I was talking to this guy and like, he's like and everybody's opinion, like in contrast with me, like he was like a bad boy.
Oh, okay.
And so everybody was just like, stay away from him and da 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 da. And his people were telling him to stay away from me. And like it was like well, I can be I can be bad. I was like in an emotional moment. Like I was like, I can be bad too. I'm not at all. I can't. And then I wrote Good Girl when I was kind of just like, with my new person and like being like, content in it and being real with myself. And so it was like a real contrast with like emotions. Like everything I write is like a direct output of like how I'm feeling in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there were like two contrast, like really contrast moments in my life. I think
That's amazing.
um,
That's funny that you went, yeah, went from the bad boy, and then now you're with the new person, and you're like, I can't do that. I'm a good girl.
yeah, I'm a good
And you wrote that in your room you're sitting in.
I wrote Good Girl in my room. I wrote Good Girl and Bad Girl in my room. I didn't record Good Girl in my room. I
Mhm.
recorded that at the studio, but I wrote it in like my little notebook. Like I just sat and like wrote it and was like, so in love.
Yeah. You have a lot of music you said coming out. Or at least you've
Yeah.
written a lot of music.
Yeah. I'm really excited. Like the past few months, I've just been writing like crazy. Um, and recording too. And I'm just really excited for this next project I'm putting
Mhm.
out because
Okay.
it's unlike In and Out. It's actually a lot of thought going into it. And so I'm just super excited for everybody's reaction. Like I feel like even with like All American and like all of
Mhm.
these things, like it's kind of like a buildup for like music. And I'm just like excited for everybody to hear what I'm working on because it's so different from like my old stuff because my old stuff is from when I was like 15, 16.
Mhm.
And so now it's from like 18, 19. So it's like, a little bit of a contrast with like
Yeah, a little newer, a little, yeah, growing a bit.
yeah.
And that's a big, I mean, if you think of 15 to 19, that's a huge, it doesn't sound, it's not a lot of years really, but it
Yeah.
really is. That's when you really start
Like
to, yeah, change and grow and everything.
yeah.
Well, I love what you're doing with those two records on All American. Tell me about you have a reoccurring role in that show.
Yes, I do.
What's that? Tell me about the show. Do you enjoy acting?
Yeah, I love acting. It's always been like a kind of secondary thing that I've always been in since I was like a little girl.
Hmm.
I got my first agent when I was like 8, when I was in New York, and then, we moved, so then it was kind of like a pause on that when we moved to Atlanta. But then I got a new agent like last year, and so we've just been working. I have my role on All American is Jen. She's like a rebellious teenager. I guess that's what I give. But yeah, she's like a rebellious teenager who's trying to get clean, get sober. She's addicted to like painkillers, and Olivia meets her in NA. So
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of like
Wow. I mean,
that.
that's such a big issue right now, too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, talk
Mhm.
about there's a show on Netflix or not Netflix, Hulu. It's called Dope Sick, and it's all
Oh
about that
yeah.
pandemic. I mean, it's like hard to
I,
watch. So
really?
yeah, but that's yeah, what a way, I'm sure they portray the message in a good way. Obviously, if you're at NA in the show, is that
Yeah.
something you had to kind of research at all, or
Yeah, I had to. It was so funny. I was Googling because I had like a scene where I had to, where Jen was high and she came to Olivia and was like, I'm high. And I was like, how do people act high off of
yeah,
pills? Like I
right,
was like,
right, right, yeah, you're googling that.
I was like, how do you act high? Like, what is? Are you like itchy? Like, are you like like? I was like, what do I do?
Yeah, you had to kind
I
of
was
figure out
really
how to.
legit like Googling it. Like I had no clue. But I talked to a couple people and my coach, and I figured it out, I think. But it was
Yeah.
definitely a moment where it was nothing that I had ever expected to play. Like if I were to have guessed last year, that this was like a role I would be playing, I wouldn't have guessed it. For like my first role is definitely like a big role, big message to portray and to like put out there.
Hmm.
I hope I'm doing well with portraying this message and like telling this story.
Yeah, I think it's an important. thing for people to, especially, I mean, nowadays with prescription drugs and everything being so,
Yeah.
with fentanyl and everything else, it's just killing and destroying people's lives. Obviously,
Um,
it's good to have that message out there. I think that's
mhm.
super cool. Um, and you, like you said, you enjoy acting and you're doing the singing and you just got a lot going on. Do you tease a lot of your songs on your TikTok or new stuff coming out? Is that how you're gonna try to roll out some of this?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like to like tease on TikTok. They interact pretty well
Uh-huh.
with the previewing of new music. So yeah, that's probably gonna be a part of the rollout for sure. I just did a open verse challenge on Bad Girl on TikTok. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's kind of cool. I got a few yesterday, so I'm gonna check it today and see if there's any new ones.
That's really cool. So people can actually directly send you something and you'll check it out and engage
Yeah,
with it.
they can stitch with the video and
Hmm.
like say their verse like with me so I can like see what they come up with. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's rad. It's so cool that that nowadays it's so easy to kind of be
Like,
that connected to your audience.
yep, yep,
So
yep.
cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Journey. I can't wait to hear your new music and watch you in the show now. I have to definitely check that out. And I just have one more quick question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
I would say stay consistent, decide, make a conscious choice that this is what you want to do, and just commit and do it 100% and believe in yourself because if you don't, then nobody else will. And be okay with whatever happens and do it for the love of it and because you enjoy it and put your happiness first. Bringing it backward.